You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Caslin, Red Raider Hoops, preparing for a season opener, only really days away, and on the move this week for a Big 12 Media Day experience. We'll have some thoughts on some of what was said there on an upcoming episode, but wanted to touch base with you on something I've been seeing roll out, a couple different perspectives on Big 12 odds. And when you look at this team in Lubbock and a preseason top 10 ranking and maybe a guy that could be a preseason National Player of the Year, I could not be any more excited than I am right now for this team in this season. Could be maybe the best in the history of the program. Conference odds rolling out. I see that we're looking up at a few, and it seems like consistently that is the perspective in Houston and BYU, basically what I've seen slotted ahead of Texas Tech so far. I know that's no grand shock, but it's kind of a reminder of just exactly what this league has a chance to be again whenever you think about what we believe our guys are going to be, yet what some preseason league expectations actually look like.
I'm not so certain that – I'm going to say something that's really crazy here. I'm not so certain that in this era, because the sport has changed as we've seen, there's a lot of turnover each year. But when we take timing, that the Big 12 won't be better this year than it ever has been before as it relates to talent spread out across the of the conference. That's going to provide, or be provided that a lot of these guys stay healthy and all the things. But I mean, Kansas State has a potential Player of the Year candidate on their team in PJ Haggerty that I'm sure a lot of people are like, who's that? He played at Memphis. He's incredible. Now, their problem is they don't have a ton around him, but you've got potential for two guys that are freshmen that could be the number one player in the draft, and Darren Peterson for Kansas and AJ DeBonsa for BYU. These are both very likely one-and-done players that could be debated as the number one player picked, next summer. I mean, and then you go to all the different, holdovers. Like you have a guy like Richie Saunders at BYU, who is a first-team All-Big 12 guy, and then a JT Toppin, who is a first-team All-Big 12 guy. It's just it's a fascinating year. I don't disagree with all the Houston love. I just think you have a hard time making an argument against it. Vegas, preseason predictions, whether it's media, whatever, it's their league. They have dominated this league. They played in the title game. I will say that I feel like Texas Tech could have gotten a shot off in the last 30 seconds of the title game had they made it, but each his own. I just think that was my poor attempt to take a shot at Houston, but that's very hard.
No, I enjoy it. I like how often you bring that up, and I do agree.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, come on, man. 30 seconds and the ball doesn't even go up in the air. Like, what are we doing? I will say this about the two teams that you're looking at above you. They are going to be much younger than they usually are. Much younger. Leaning on freshmen. This is one thing that Kelvin Sampson has not really ever done before at this level, where he's leaned on so many freshmen. And I do think at some point they will, because I think there's probably going to be 3 true freshmen in their rotation and starting and all that. And that's a clear exception. I think they'll miss LJ Cryer and his ability to just score and pull a rabbit out of his hat at the end of the clock. I think BYU is largely the same. My question about BYU is because they've got Saunders, they've got DeMansa, and they've got Rob Wright, who came over from Baylor. So they've got a really good nucleus. They're very talented. My question is, I just wonder if their defensive chops are going to be there when it counts. This is going to be a team that can score and make things interesting and very talented. They appear to be well coached. I just don't know if they've got the defensive grit that it will take to win the league or to finish above you. But this is Grant McCaslin's challenge with his own guys. You've recruited scoring. You're going to be able to shoot it and score and do the things. But it's who can get guys to buy in and play good defense team-wise, who can guard out on the perimeter when you're just on an island. And this is why Kelvin Sampson is different than everybody. His teams are going to do this, freshmen or not. I just think what may get them in trouble is, can they score? Can they do some things? Do they have an alpha like an LJ Cryer that can create and all those things? But this is why you get the nod to Houston right now, because they're going to play defense. It's going to be a pain in the ass to play against, but this is Grant's challenge with his guys, and he's talked about this. They just lost a scrimmage, 89-87. They're about to go play Iowa and have to guard Bennett Sturts again. We saw that up close in Wichita, Kansas. And you were able to guard that day for the most part when he was playing at Drake, because you had morphed into this really salty, very competitive defensive team. But it took a while. How quickly does it take this year? You've got more length. You've got more bodies to use. Grant has talked about he needs to be better in closer games about substituting offense for defense and maybe playing, worrying more about a possession at the end of a game. And you're going to get a lot of opportunities here when you're playing Illinois and you're playing potentially Purdue and Arkansas and LSU, and just keep going with what they've got in the non-conference. But, and then how healthy are you right now? I mean, he stated, Luke Bomboye, we hope to have him for the beginning of the season. He's got a lower body issue. This is the number one defensive player on the board, according to Andy Katz. And he talked about he will fix a lot of issues while we are sorting through things. His rim protection sorts it all out. Well, if you don't have him, I mean, you see what I'm saying? So
Sure.
This is a defensive conversation, I think, on 1, 2, and 3 for different reasons. And I don't have a problem with Houston being where they're at. I do, though, maybe have a bit of an issue with BYU, but again, it's semantics at this point. And you know where your last regular season game will be? At the Marriott Center in Provo, Utah, in front of 18,000 people, and it's like at 9:30 on a Saturday night. That place won't be hopping. So yeah, there you go.
Hopped up on sugar.
Yes, that's right.
I'm wondering, just kind of aloud, maybe what Grant McCaslin has learned along the way so far, because I know we all had high expectations. I just mean as a coach, or maybe some ways he's evolved or changed or adapted and whatever, whether it's off-season roster building or recruitment or what he does during a season in game. I don't know. I had very, very high expectations for him and this program when he got here. He has surpassed those by far. I think even for those really high expectations, Chris, you're a breath away from really getting to where you want to be, and that's back in a Final Four with a chance truly to compete for a national title last season. But I'm kind of reminding myself also, these are in some uncharted waters for him as well. I mean, I know this is where he had to believe he could get, but dang, you're there, or you're close to it. And I'm sure that's come with maybe some lessons for him also, and maybe the way that he goes about whatever. Still a young guy in this profession, and it kind of seems like he's grizzled at this point with some skins on the wall, but he's not that long in the tooth. First, today's episode brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. We all make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. And with football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. You're going to love how easy and simple it is to use. And of course, Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Download the Prize Picks app today and use our code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. With Prize Picks, run your game.
No, but he's very smart. He's been able to adapt. I think like the immediate challenges are, there's some staff turnover here. I mean, you lose 2 assistants that you leaned on heavily last year, and then you've promoted from within. You've hired some, Gocher's now in here as an assistant, and so how does the dynamic of the staff? Can you squeeze everything out of what you've got like the previous couple of staffs did? I think Grant too is interesting in that he's seen it at a variety of different levels, the junior college upbringing and all the lower levels of basketball. But it's hard to do this because it's easy to say it and talk about it, but because he's talked about some of these things aloud now. And if you've ever been over there or around there, you know that he really lives this. But this is like the hard part about being a coach. We have a good practice. I want a great one. We played good. I want you all to play great. And we're not trying to beat Lindenwood here. We're trying to beat Florida in the Elite Eight. And having that standard and knowing when you see, hey, man, we could just gloss over it. I don't want to pick a fight today. I just want to stay in my comfort zone. I've been riding these guys for a while. You see what I mean? And that's the dynamic that goes on daily with coaches like this that are trying to achieve something better and further and all the, and all that. And it's hard to live that way because it's like at some point you just like, God dang, man, is nothing going to be good enough in my own eyes? I'm just a miserable cuss all the time if I can't find any joy in what I'm doing. But there's something about being a competitor at this level in this league that you must continue to squeeze. And it's like, dude, it's a rock. There's no water to get out of it. And yet he's going to say to you, yes, there is. And if it's one drop, we must get it out of there. And that's what I think he's learned, especially at this level. And he will tell you too, we are extremely grateful and lucky to have had the resources that we have had to put together what we've got going right now, because they have a legit chance to compete, not just for the Big 12 title, but much further than that. But again, healthy, lucky, gelling at the right time, all the stuff that needs to come with it. And these are the challenges he's trying to maneuver right now.
Just around the corner, November 4. We're getting it started. Chris, appreciate a little time for the round ball and all the time in general, man. Enjoyed it this week. We got one more to go. We'll get into the mailbag on our final episode for the week before we ship you off to the weekend and try to get back on track from Jones Stadium Saturday evening. So looking forward to it, and we'll see you then.
Guns up. And again, we're in this thing together, people. Calvin and I, we're just along for the ride like the rest of you guys, but we'll be here together with you to break it all down. And Oklahoma State is going to pay for there's some consequences at stake this weekend. I firmly believe that. Barron, Hammond, whatever, let's roll.
You will pay for what Arizona State has done, and that's the way it can work. We're back to transitive properties in college football. There you go for the bingo scorekeepers out there. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time, and make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss a thing. And, of course, appreciate the everydayers for always riding along, and the Matador Mob. Hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text straight to your phone. And we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.